Alright guys, Rab here, and yesterday we got the announcement from G2 Esports that we'd all been waiting for. Methodz and Lacefield added to the active duty lineup in place of Ricky and Faccento, who go out the door. We'll talk about their destinations in just a second here, but yeah, an interesting announcement. I think overall it should be to the benefit of G2, but we'll go through how far they can probably get throughout the course of this video. So, secondly, I just want to talk about briefly this addition to the Mindfreak roster in Swifty. So, coming over from Tated Minds, now onto Mindfreak, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be replacing Buzzo. There was something on Tommy's stream today, a little clip that said that Buzzo's going to be going to a coaching role. Maybe it's bait, but it very much seems likely that it's a bit of a weird announcement the Mindfreak did. They confirmed they're adding Swifty, but they didn't announce who's going out the door. So I'm pretty sure it's Buzzo going to a coaching role, which would leave the team as Shocks, Fighter, Excite, Luca, and Swifty. So definitely a new generation without Dens. Not looking maybe as strong, but we'll have to see how that team goes towards the Pro League qualifier, and G2 will be there as well with this new look lineup. So the squad is now Blast, Decimate, Chino, Methodz, and Lacefield. So definitely seems like a stronger squad on paper. We're going to go through it today. Like if you enjoy, subscribe if you think I've earned it and you're new, of course, all that good stuff. And let's have a look at the stats for a second here. So these are the stats from CWL Las Vegas. I think maybe this is obviously a fantastic website, and credit to JP and Doug and all those guys that deal with this stuff. I'll leave a link down in the description box below. It would be nice if you could see the teams and the players on those teams like you could on the old website, because if I click on teams here, it doesn't really tell me much apart from the overall team records. So anyway, we scroll down a little bit. Decimate with a 1.21 over the course of the tournament, far and away above any of the rest of his teammates. No one else was really performing on G2 apart from this guy. And let's have a look at the results at CWL Las Vegas. Of course, you know the story at the upper echelons. Optic United, Splice, Luminosity talked about how they're going to end up being in the Pro League in yesterday's video. But anyway, all these other teams are going to be in that Pro League qualifier that I talked about in quite some depth in yesterday's video. Exactly how that's going to play out towards the rest of the season. And you can see G2 Esports sitting here at top 16. Far from an amazing performance, not what they were looking for at all, and they decide to make a roster change. So firstly, let's have a quick look at where the other members on that team are going to go. So of course, Methodz comes over from this FaZe clan lineup. Talked a couple of videos ago about he's going to be replaced more than likely by Celium, that S&D star that everyone's been talking about as that main assault rifle player that, or maybe he won't even use the main AR, maybe he'll just use a Maddox or something, but definitely has tended to be an assault rifle player, and see how he can fit into that FaZe clan lineup. I'll talk more about how that'll affect them in the video when that is announced, or if it's announced, if that even comes to fruition. But yeah, Ricky and Faccento leaving the squad. As it seems right now, Faccento is going to go over to Evil Geniuses in replacement of Saints. So EG is going to be Goonjar, Royalty, Felony, Zotic, and Faccento, supposedly. And Saints is going to move over to this Pittsburgh Knights squad. I actually said it right this time. We're just going to be GodRx, Panda, Parasite. Theory and Lacefield will both be out the door. They will be replaced by Ricky off G2 and Saints. So Theory is the only one without a home that seems to have been found right now. So G2, we know what team that has ended up being. These Blaz, Chino, Decimate with Methodz in place of Ricky, or it doesn't really matter which way you put it, and then Lacefield coming in, and then the Pittsburgh Knights. These three are going to stay as it seems. Ricky will be coming in. There was a few different rumours, different reports around exactly what was going to happen here, but it seems like Ricky is going to be coming into this team because they were scrimming apparently the other day. This is a tweet from Intel at Call of Duty, or Intel Call of Duty, whatever. Ricky and Saints scrimming with the Pittsburgh Knights in place of Theory and Lacefield. So who knows where Theory's going to end up, but Methodz has found his home here on this G2 roster. So back to the stats for just a second. Decimate at a 1.21. We scroll down for the next player we can see on G2. It's not a pretty... Okay, I have to go on to the next page. I'm not even going to bother doing that. Nowhere to be found at all. But instead of that, let's have a look at 12th and 14th. We have Lacefield and Methodz. 1.25 with a sub and a 1.17 with an A. Now, of course, you're expecting Methodz to put up a lot of numbers. He's a very slow, methodical assault rifle player that maybe didn't fit the style of FaZe Clan. Of course, he did have quite a lot of success last year on that next threat, moving on to Rise Nation. Of course, he went on to Optic, and, you know, we'll discuss exactly what happened from there in just a second. And now he went on to FaZe, another big organisation, and now he's off that team onto G2. So I guess it seems like a downgrade in terms of the prestige and the name of the organisation, but in terms of the likelihood for success, I definitely think that this team probably has a better opportunity than that old FaZe Clan roster did, but maybe with the addition of Celium, the tables may have turned a little bit. But definitely, in terms of the slaying standpoint, having Decimate up here at a 1.21, and Lacefield and Methodz gonna put up some numbers as well. Lacefield has been phenomenal pretty much his entire career. Definitely been an up and down player, but hasn't really got a big break. If we have a look at his achievements here for the last couple of years, obviously the famous one a lot of you guys will remember. I'll just make this offline performances, so it's easier to go back and look on codgamepedia.com. I'll link all this stuff down in the description box below. And yeah, as you can see, comes into the scene, Advanced Warfare, doesn't really do that much. By the end of Black Ops 3, he's on this Cloud9 squad with Ricky, who he has now just replaced. And, you know, we all remember the series against Optic Gaming, that Game 5 round 11. And, you know, since then, goes through Infinite Warfare, doesn't have too much success, gets onto this Ghost Gaming squad. Now he goes onto Pittsburgh Knights, and then onto this G2 roster. So definitely been a real standout performer at the start of this game. The slaying power is definitely there now on G2, that it wasn't in the previous lineup. And, you know, you can trust Methodz to shoot from the back, as long as his other team is okay with him baiting for them a fair bit. So we should probably have a look at Methodz achievements as well. Let's have a look through some things here. Let's have a quick talk through his career, because it hasn't been a pretty one in the last couple of months, put it that way. So, of course, way back in the day, he's competed for all sorts of years. And yeah, doesn't have too much success in Infinite Warfare. Ends up teaming with Replays at the end of Infinite Warfare at the Championships. Then, start of World War II, this game really suited him. This is why I think a lot of people have mixed opinions on Methodz. Some people are thinking, wow, this guy's a monster, putting up crazy numbers, like his aim is super crisp and super precise. But then at the same time, he's not had all the success despite those stats. And I think maybe some people did see on Optic, and I especially thought this, that having Methodz and Octane on one team, the pace was so slow that Scump was left out to dry. Like, Scump was having some of his worst events he's ever had at the end of World War II. I don't think that was down to him playing individually that poorly. He just had no support at all. Now that he has with TJ Halley and, you know, Karma does what he needs to do on the team, and Dashy's an aggressive assault rifle player as well. But Octane and Methodz really slowed down the pace. And yeah, okay, Methodz are putting up a 1.2 or whatever, but what does it matter when you're having to bait your teammates constantly and you're not really gaining the ground on the map? So I think people have mixed opinions on Methodz, and I think that's kind of been seen in recent months, what we've seen in his career here. So, of course, he does win the CWL Atlanta Open with Rise Nation last year. Had a really strong start with Next Threat, putting up crazy numbers. Manages to wiggle his way into this Rise Nation squad and takes him a long way to this championship. A very solid all-around player. And then he kind of claimed that Looney scapegoated him a bit for their lack of results at Stage 1 playoffs. He ends up getting dropped, and, you know, what do you know? They pick up Slash and they go on to win 2 more championships. So, yeah, who knows how much you can read into that. He goes on to Team Caliber for one event, does decently well, then on to Optic Gaming, and you can see the results. So, despite him putting up crazy numbers, I'm not really seeing too much evidence that he is such a valuable asset to a team. He seems like a very nice guy. He's a very funny guy as well on Twitter, on social media, on Twitch, all that stuff. But whether he actually can add a crazy amount to a team, aside from just his pure slaying, I just think in the modern day, he's just too slow of a player. You look at Slashy, you look at Dashy, you look at Formal, say, the best assault rifles in the game, they tend to be the most aggressive ones, and Methodz seems to have stuck to his ways for the past 5-6 years, and despite World War II being really suited to his style, going into Black Ops 4, you know, this game is super fast-paced, and despite him putting up a 1.17 or whatever, didn't seem to help his team too much, did it, in FaZe Clan? And yeah, so the result for Vegas doesn't appear here for some reason, but yeah, they came top 16th as well. Hardly impressive at all, and, you know, all these teams are pretty much making changes, not so sure about UYU. Let's have a quick discussion on roles, because this team seems to make a lot more sense with the new additions to the team. Because, of course, in the old team, I believe Faccento a lot of the time was running an ICR, which doesn't really seem to make too much sense. You've got Chino, you've got Ricky, you've got Faccento, all of which tend to prefer an assault rifle in hand. You also have Decimate, who is at times on that Envy squad last year using an assault rifle, and then Blast is definitely an SMG. So, like, it was a weird team composition that was super assault rifle heavy. With this change, they make it very clear, oh, I clicked off that by accident. with this change, they make it very clear what their intentions are for this roster. Methodz is going to be the main AR, no questions asked. He's going to be the guy at the back. They know the situation there. Lacefield should be a fantastic duo for Blast up at the front. You'd expect Blast to be maybe the slightly more aggressive one, giving Lacefield a little bit more room for maneuver so he can put up those crazy numbers. Decimate just does his thing, a fantastic player overall. He can pretty much use any weapon. Very impressed with him in all game modes. And then hopefully Chino can actually use a weapon more suited to his style, because if you guys aren't so aware, Chino supposedly has been using the sword, like been using an SMG for a lot of this game already, and it just doesn't sit right. You know, you're expecting Chino to use an assault rifle, and on this squad, it seems very much that the roles make a lot more sense. You have Methodz on the ICR, Chino and Decimate on the Maddoxes, Lacefield and Blast on the Sorgs. Like, it makes a lot of sense. You switch around the roles a little bit more if they would like, but definitely the roles seem to mesh a lot better on this new squad. And even the individual players, in terms of upgrades, you take Methodz over Faccento, say. You take Lacefield over, well, I'd take Lacefield over pretty much most people in the scene right now, given his Vegas performance, especially at this kind of tier. And yeah, okay, how can you really turn down Methodz? He won a championship last year, and who knows? He can get back to that form. He can be sitting with that Rise Nation sort of situation. They kind of play around and they let him just dominate from the back, and who knows what he can achieve on this squad. I definitely think it's an upgrade. One thing I do have queries about is exactly where the leadership is coming from, because you saw with Chino and Decimate on that Envy squad last year, the leadership seemed to be kind of lacking there. Yes, Slasher on the team at the early part of the year, maybe his leadership style was the wrong one for the team, but even without him, they didn't have too much success outside of that. So, I don't know where exactly the leadership's coming from. Blast and Lacefield I don't think will provide it. I don't think Methodz is that type of player at all. So it comes down to Chino and Decimate again. So there's some sort of queries I have in this aspect. I definitely think this team should be better than the prior version, however. And I am expecting them to be better than their top 16 placing going forward. So we'll have to see how they perform at the Pro League playing, because of course they have to get into the top 12 out of the 28 teams of that event, January 16th through the 20th. I talked about all the details in that in yesterday's video. If you guys are interested, link down in the description and probably on screen now as it's coming towards the end of the video. So like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, or if you think I've earned it, all that good stuff. And yeah, more content coming soon. Merry Christmas for Tuesday. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.